G'day and welcome to another episode of Heat Check. As always, so much happening in the world of hoops. We're here to break it all down for you. My name's Joel Peterson. He is Michael Houben, aka at Mick Houben Hoops, Mr. Hoops. Hello.
You're all over it. One of my first followers. Really appreciate that, Joel. Got a big week ahead.
The new Instagram account for our man here. So it's at Mike Houben Hoops, isn't it?
It's a total rebrand. You're going to have to call me Mike from now on.
Okay, Mike. Or can I call you Mr. Hoops? Is that okay?
You can go with whatever you like, Joel.
I like Mr. Hoops personally. I feel like that fits your niche very well. Hey, heaps to talk about today, of course. We're not too far from the NBA draft. We're going to get into that in a big way next week. There's lots of WNBL news, still NBL player movement as well. But a big announcement out in the West this week, which was very, very exciting indeed. Hoopsfest is coming back. It's going to be awesome in January this year. So something a little bit different. Let's see how it was announced this week.
Today, we are very pleased to announce that Hoopsfest is coming back to Western Australia in 2026.
You can see all the best players in the whole country. Within a couple of days, you can see them all.
WA is a place, you know, like if you haven't been here, it's one of the best places in the world.
It's the single biggest celebration of basketball in the Southern Hemisphere, and it will all happen here in Perth from the 15th to the 18th of January 2026. You'll be able to see all 10 NBL teams playing the Hungry Jacks NBL season for regular season points. And for the first time ever, all 8 WNBL teams playing regular season games here, which we are thrilled about.
This is the type of place you want to be as a person that loves basketball, and I think everybody's excited for it.
And it's a great way for basketball to come together at this one time in the middle of school holidays in January. It's going to be an absolute incredible event, and please don't miss out.
So there you go, 15th to the 18th of Jan. It is going to be warm, that is for sure, in Perth at that time of year, but school holidays is a win. Regular season WNBL is a really big part of this. We didn't have that at Hoopsfest last year when it ran in September, so we get to throw the WNBL in there in a really meaningful way. I think this is really exciting.
Fantastic. I loved going to Hoopsfest last year. I think it's a brilliant initiative, and I think getting it into this January period is a win for many different reasons. I think, as you said, the holiday period, getting the kids involved, that's fantastic. But also sort of mixing it up mid-season. I think it came off the back of the Blitz last season, got a bit lost there. This is perfect as a sort of refresher mid-season. Yeah, we've had the announcement of the new in-season tournament as well with the NBL, so there's plenty of colour and movement in this upcoming season. So that is going to be a big part of that is Hoopsfest in January over in Perth that we're very much looking forward to. Speaking of all things Perth, all things Western Australia and Western Australians, Ben Henschel is a name that we have been following on this program very, very closely over a number of weeks. Of course, coming off a good season with the Wildcats, he threw his name into the NBA draft pool. He had some options at the college level. Now he's taken his name out of the NBA draft pool. What do you think is next for him? I think we saw it slowly trending in this direction, but it's now officially won't be a part of this year's draft. Still super young though, 20 years old. He needs to take another big leap next year. The question is where. I think looking from the outside in, we think there's 2 options here, either the Perth Wildcats or the Texas Tech Raiders. Now, we know what the NIL landscape's like. I'm sure he knows what the more lucrative option is. But as has been alluded to, there are some concerns around his eligibility, whether he'll be able to play college. If that isn't the case, I'm sure the Perth Wildcats will very happily have his services back.
All right, so we're in an environment where you're making some big calls today. What's most likely? Where do you think Ben Henschel ends up?
I think ultimately he will end up back with the Perth Wildcats. I think that's a win for Ben. He's going to have a starting position. He's going to have another bigger role without Bryce Cotton there. And of course for the Wildcats, they need some talent coming back into the fold. I think that would be fantastic for both counts.
Yeah, it'd be good news to have him back in the NBL competition, no doubt. There's big things ahead of him no matter where he is. We've got international representation coming up. Our Kangaroos squads in the 3x3 led by Damon Lowry and Adam Lazarus Ford, who just keeps making comebacks. They are going to the World Cup in Mongolia, of all places, so Ulaanbaatar in the next little while. They're on the road at the moment, preparing for that. The women had a camp in Melbourne last week. The men have been battling it out as well, so those 2 squads have landed. Adam Ford's got his Cairns lineup. So the Kangaroo is clearly native to far north Queensland because Josh Davey, Alex Higgins-Titcher, Jonah Antonio, Dylan Stith are all part of that team under him. And then Damon Lowry's got some very, very talented women. Annalie Maley, of course, who's a mainstay in this team, along with Marina Whittle, Alex Wilson, and Mila Soa has been absolutely balling out recently.
Absolutely. I think the big key for both of these teams is consistency. These teams know how to play with each other. You know, particularly in the 3-on-3 game, it is a very unique style of play. You need to know how to adapt and what's effective in that. And the fact that these groups have played together over multiple occasions is really going to help them. I also look at these players, there's a lot of high motor players. This is such a fast-paced game, and having players that can get up and down and really keep up the tempo is really pivotal. 2
high motor coaches as well,
yes.
I reckon, 40 and our man Damon. So all the very best of luck to our teams over in Mongolia. We'll keep you updated on their progress next week here on Heat Check. Finn Delaney, we spoke about him last week. He was part of that Basketball Champions League Asia tournament. He ended up winning the championship there, part of the All-Star 5 as well, of course, coming back to the NBL this year, and looks like he's in some really good form.
It didn't take him long to make his mark in this competition. Over 5 games, he averaged 16 points and over 6 rebounds a game, doing exactly what we know he does well, getting to the cup, scoring. They won in an absolute thriller, 93-94 against Thon Maker's team as well. He had 13, 12 and 4 blocks. It was a really fantastic outing for him, and you know, it's fantastic to see Finn leading into this Melbourne United season.
So there's a name, Thon Maker, who keeps coming up, and we've spoken about it before, that he keeps coming up in NBL discussions. He was part of that All-Star 5 with Finn Delaney. Pretty handy lineup there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. That All-Star 5 for this competition included Thon Maker. It also included DJ Newell. He was the MVP of this event. And you look at Thon Maker, again, really fantastic game. You can see the rim protection with the 4 blocks. He gets it done inside and out. I'm looking across the league. Some of the marquee big man options, Joe Luol-Lachul seems out of the picture. Yanni Wetzel appears out of the picture. Who's the next big local? Probably Thon Maker. So I'm just tracking his name for NBL opportunities.
Okay, maybe a little bit less cashola than those first 2 names required to get him. He would be a very interesting signing. Some good news for Chloe Bibby as well. We've spoken about her on previous editions of this show as well, particularly with her exploits in Girona over the last couple of years where she's been an MVP. She was going to be part of that Kangaroos training camp. And she said, oh, look, I'm not available because I've been called up to the Golden State Valkyries of the WNBA. So Euro Cup is on, players going to their national teams for European competition, which means there's some roster spots that have come open at the WNBA level. And after being signed to a training camp contract waived, Chloe Bibby sort of earns a return back to Golden State.
Yeah, really fantastic second go-around for Chloe. It's fantastic to see because she did play 2 games as part of that pre-season with Golden State. Unfortunately, was cut as part of those ruthless slew of cuts we saw at the end of pre-season, but she gets the second go-around now. They have 3 players that they have put their contracts on suspension. There's 1 player that they've waived, so there's a lot of opportunity to be had during this Eurobasket period, and this is a chance for her to really establish herself and make it known that she belongs in the league.
Yeah, big opportunity for her, and we know that she can shoot the ball. I mean, it's a great story of someone who has gone and worked on her game, played some high-level college basketball, and has really transformed her game in the last few years. So all the very best of luck to Chloe Bibby. Let's head overseas to our favourite part of the world. It wouldn't be an episode of Heat Check without checking in Puerto Rico. And Christian Doolittle, who, of course, is coming off an injury, was mentioned this time last week on the show. He's been back in action this week. He was also on NBL Now this week talking about that recent ankle injury and his recovery from it. Let's hear from him.
Yeah, I'm okay. I heard about the report, and it was crazy because when I heard about it, I was literally walking around. So I received a lot of phone calls that day. I made a lot of people nervous that day, but I'm all good. We were doing like our shoot around in preparation for our opponent one day, a game next day. And I kind of just made a false step, and I went down, and so I ended up getting MRI done, and I had 0. There was nothing wrong with me. So I just had to wait for the swelling to go down, and so I essentially sprained my ankle.
So good news for Christian Doolittle, and his form after that injury, Mick, has been terrific. The numbers have been really, really strong. He's playing for a team over there in Gigantes who are right on the bubble of sort of post-season action as well, and he's a big part of what they're doing.
They're going to be very happy that he's back. Not only is he healthy, but he's thriving. He's playing some of his best basketball. 4 games back now, 21, 17 and 7 was the highlight out of those 4 games. And that just goes to show why I love him. He does a little bit of everything, and he's so scalable. If you need him to go be the top scorer, he can go do that. If you need him to sort of go into that role player mode, take the efficient shots, play D, he can do that too. But he's doing a little bit of the former right now for Gigantes.
I like that, scalable. That's one that I'll just tuck away in the back of the memory bank. Playing with Jacob Wiley, of course, a former Adelaide 36er. He's played with Montrezl Harrell this season, so the teammates have been there, but he's been a constant throughout all of it in his 6th season over there in Puerto Rico. So he's one of the OGs as far as NBL contributors over there in Puerto Rico, and he's made it a real home away from home in the last couple of years. Staying in that part of the world, we've talked about the Migers trio throughout the course of the season. We've had lots of reason to talk about Milton Doyle. Tyrell Harrison's been in some really good form, and big slammin' Sam Wardenberg. He's really rolled into some decent form recently, coming off a strong NBL season. He's been doing some really nice things.
Well, as we know, Tyrell is taking that sort of brief period of absence while he pursues his NBA dreams, and just quietly Sam's usage rate has ticked up as a result. He is playing fantastic basketball, had back-to-back 30 pieces in 2 of his most recent games, then backed that up with 25 and 14 as well. So he's getting on the glass, he's scoring inside and out, and I'm really excited to see next season. I feel like he doesn't get much shine because he's in Cairns, but they're going to be better next season, and I think we're going to start to see, look, in my opinion, he's on the same level as like a Luke Travers or a Jack White in terms of what he brings at the NBL level.
Oh, and well, both of those names have been at other levels as well.
That's
so,
right.
like, is there, do you see that potential level of a ceiling for a guy like Sam Wardenberg?
I do think that there is the opportunity for him to potentially work his way maybe into a 2-way or something similar. I think all the talent's there. He plays on both ends of the floor, has that shooting as well, which is so pivotal at the NBA level. We'll see if he can reach those heights.
I like that very much. Montrezl Harrell's a bit of an anytime, anywhere prospect at the moment. He will just roll up and play. He's in the Big 3 at the moment, playing with the Chicago Triplets, which I didn't think there'd ever be a basketball team named the Triplets, but Montrez is lining up for them at the moment, so he continues to deliver ahead of a return to Adelaide.
That's right. The Big 3 is essentially the WWE of basketball. It's big characters, big names, and a lot of extracurricular activity, which we know Trez likes to get involved in. From what I've seen so far in his opening game, a lot of big dunks, and also a lot of what I would call positive crowd interaction. He loves a bit of that.
Yep, and just for a second there, I thought, geez, he's in the Adelaide 36ers colours as well, so we'll get used to that. We'll get used to that stare throughout the course of the NBL season as well, I am sure. Similar part of the world, Mitch Creek, he's over at Vancouver at the moment, playing in their competition, and he is putting up numbers left, right and centre. So 24 points a game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting it really nicely from the 3, about 39%, shooting at 60% from the field, putting together another really impressive season there.
Yeah, this is just the latest stop in his world domination tour. I will say Canada isn't the strongest league. I'd sort of compare it a little bit above maybe the strongest NBL 1 conference that we have. But that being said, he is doing everything in his power, dominating. He's an MVP candidate. And there are some familiar names in this league as well. Deng Adel is putting up 17 points a game. Grant Anticevich is over there. And Mikhail McIntosh as well, the former Jackies import.
I like that. There's a couple of teammates of Mitch Creek's that jumped out to me as well. A young man named Shamar Givens. And another one named Dwayne Notice, which sounds like something you'd get off your local council. You'd pick up a Dwayne Notice from your municipality. So I like Dwayne Notice's work. He's not playing big minutes over there, but they're the kind of things. So you all look at the numbers, you look at the performance. I just look at team names and player names, and that's sort of how I get through our international tour of the basketball world. You made a big call on social media this week, and I like it. And it relates to Amari Moore, who is the now confirmed new signing at South East Melbourne. So they are in love with his sort of size and defensive mindset, what he could bring to the table there. First of all, before we get to what you need to address as being your big call, talk to us about how excited you are to see this man in the NBL.
Yeah, it was a bit touch and go for a second there, and it felt like it was very possible that he'd end up in the EuroLeague or something similar, because he is that good. He is such a talent. I think Southeast, I think I said it on the show the other week, I think this could be the best point guard pickup they've had yet, and they've had a very good run of that. He plays both ends of the ball. He's a big point guard. There is so much to love about him.
As people throwing him up as maybe a defensive player of the year candidate under Josh King, you've thrown him up as a potential MVP candidate. What jumps out to you that he could be at that level?
Well, I think the impact on both sides of the ball. Offensively, there is a lot to like. He can go and create. I think it remains to be seen how well he'll be able to take care of the ball, how efficiently he'll score. The shooting is a bit here and there, but when you consider his offensive volume and the fact that he can defend at a high level, that's what excites me. When you think of this league, you think of Kendrick Davis, you think of PJC, you think of Bryce Cotton. These guys go out, they score 30+ points every night. You need a stopper. And he is the guy. He has a massive reputation for defending on the ball. He obviously has a lot of size and length on those guys. If he can not stop them, but slow them down, I think that's the best you can do. He's really going to put himself in those conversations.
I like it. It's that kind of hot takery you need to be following Mick on socials for. And of course, his work at basketball.com.au. But Amari Moore is going to be an intriguing piece of the puzzle for the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Free agency starting to ramp up in the WNBL as well. So things are really on the move there. Of course, we've talked about a few of those signings in the last couple of weeks. Big one this week for Geelong United with Shyla Heal coming back to the competition. Of course, she got a look in at WNBA training camp level as well. Returning to a part of the world that her dad had played in previously. She's playing in the NBL 1 East at the moment, and that's a really big signing for Geelong. Yeah,
it's fantastic to see her suiting up for her dad's former colours. I think it's fantastic to see her back in the league. We know what a talent she is at this level, and she's doing great things in Bankstown right now. She's going to be fantastic for them.
And playing under a really experienced coach there at Geelong in Chris Lucas too. So someone who knows how to get the most out of his talents, and we know that she can fill it up. She will draw people through the doors down in Geelong.
That's right. When you think about people that you want to have the cornerstone of your rosters around, you can chuck her the ball. She's going to be a high usage offensive player.
Yep. One of the most promising players in the WNBL, Dallas Lockridge, who I saw in person last week at the IBA All-Stars game playing for our Indigenous All-Stars, which was a great event out at the State Basketball Centre. She's just signed with the Adelaide Lightning, so won a championship with the Southside Flyers. Of course, had the knee injury a couple of years ago. So she joins that team with Kerry Mitchell this season, and again, another really exciting young talent.
Yeah, Adelaide are here to stay, but their roster is pretty bare bones right now. They had Izzy Ball-Lace move on. This is a fantastic replacement. She's doing fantastic things for Dandenong this season, leading the scoring and the assist rate. She's shooting the three at over 40%. And I think, again, at 21 years old, she's going to get a lot of opportunity on this roster.
Yeah, her future is bright for the country Victorian. And yeah, that Adelaide roster is an interesting one. It'll come together, no doubt. Taylor Brazil is returning there, which is a great story. Steph Talbot, of course, but they've got a lot of room to move in terms of signing. So exactly what they do in the next couple of weeks will be fascinating. Former league MVP is sticking out west, Annalie Maley, who of course is part of that Kangaroos 3x3 team. She is staying with the Perth Lynx. Their first signing of the off-season is a big one.
In amongst all the movement, we have someone being actually retained. She said that Perth is her home. We know what she's done over there the past few seasons. She's a former MVP of the league, all WNBL last season. Obviously, the most prolific rebounder in the competition, so great to have her services locked away for 2 more years.
Yeah, she'll jump on the boards, and she's been doing it in fine style with the Perth Redbacks. Her numbers over there in the West are absolutely outstanding. Of course, she's got that international string to her bow as well, so she will be a big part of what they're doing over there with the Lynx. And they've lost a player too, so they sign one and lose one. We spoke about Milasoa earlier, who has been in incredible form in this WNBL off-season. She's headed up to Townsville to join a really interesting young core that they've got up there at the Fire.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun following her this off-season. We've seen her in the 3-on-3 group, of course, and we also saw her in the Trans-Tasman series.
Yeah.
I remember going off for that 23-point outing. She is shooting the cover off the ball wherever she goes, and this is going to be a great addition.
Yeah, so, you think about this core, so they've got Cox, they've got Alice, they've got Fowler, Alicia Froling's up there, Saffron Shields, Courtney Woods, and now they add Milasoa into that mix as well. So that's they came into this off-season in the WNBL as that team that had the most pieces in place, and they've just added another big one.
It's so seamless as well to fit Miller into lineups. That shooter can play alongside any other talent. So the fact that she's joining such an established group is going to be really easy for them.
Heaps of WNBL news coming. Of course, basketball.com.au is the place to see it all as it lands through free agency as we build up to what is a very, very exciting 25-26, and there's lots of good news coming on the WNBL front as well. Let's check in with the NBL 1 now. A couple of familiar names. One that we love talking about on this show, the highlight machine, Roman Cialipa, of course, coming off Eurocamp. He's now back with the Southwest Metro Pirates in the NBL 1 North, and just just rolled out and had a lazy 27 points in his debut for the season.
He's just so dominant at this level. We hadn't seen a lot of Roman for most of the year, really. Then we saw him at the Euro event, and currently he's back in NBL 1. You see him, he gets to the cup every single time. He's so strong, he's so athletic. We know what he does well. He's only going to be here for a short period of time, though. The Under-19 World Cup is at the end of the month, and he's going to be a big feature of that team.
Yeah, and his next little while will be interesting between his international duties and then, where he might land from a domestic perspective as well. So keep an eye on his movements in the next little while. New jack jumper Ben Eyre, we know that he can light it up. He caught fire for Sandringham. It feels a bit odd to have someone who's not playing for Melbourne United playing for Sandringham. 30-piece against Eltham at the weekend.
Yeah, we know what Ben does. They've managed to scalp him straight back from Germany, and he's gone and he's putting up numbers immediately. He's getting to the line as well, had 13 free throws in his last game. We know how he can score it at every single level. The one thing I'm going to ask Ben, please keep feeding Dash Daniels the ball. I want to see him continue to put up 20 pieces.
Yes, he was impressive last time out as well, as was Fabian Krislovic for Sandringham. So, of course, Melbourne United have signed him away from the Jack Jumpers, and he's finding some form too.
It's a bit of a rite of passage, isn't it? You sign with Melbourne United, you play for the Sandringham Sabres. Now, he's been a little quiet, 2 games so far, 13 points between them. He's just getting his feet wet. But Fabian is a massive addition for this team. They're hovering about 500 as they chase these finals.
Yep, and I'm glad we haven't rolled any Dash Daniels highlights because I like what he's doing. He's a very exciting prospect, but just the picture of him playing in those Sandringham colours, I just can't do it, Mick.
It's fair enough. I get it.
Just can't do it. Kyle Adams, another name. So of course he's had a coming off a season with Cairns. We know that in the NBL 1 North he is a real talent to be reckoned with. And he is putting back-to-back big games together.
It's funny to think only a few seasons ago he was squeezed out of an NBL opportunity. However, he is back and he is playing some of his best basketball, over 26 points a game, putting up really big numbers. And at 31 years old, as a somewhat diminutive point guard, he is playing some fantastic basketball. You compare that with his veteran presence, and he is a real asset for the Taipans.
He's had some highlight reel passes as well so far this season, some nice lookaways and that kind of thing, so he continues to have a few tricks as well. And finally, good news for Sydney Kings fans, Jalen Galloway, who we've seen roll out with the Bankstown Bruins this season in the NBL 1 East. He just looks like he's starting to get back to some full fitness, which is a pretty scary proposition.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we've seen great things from Jalen. This is everything we want to see. He's been putting up great numbers, 3rd in scoring in the conference. What I really loved about this game, though, 7 3-point makes. Now, he got them up, 15 attempts, fair enough, but that's what he needs to do. Because if Jalen can shoot the 3 at a consistent level, which he hasn't at the NBL level yet, I think he's going to be one of the best 3-and-D role players in the league.
I like it. I like it a lot, and it's great to see him back because we know what he can do. Hey, this time next week, we're going to be talking NBA draft. Can you give me something as we close out the show this week? Just a name to watch or something to watch that you're really intrigued at as the next week unfolds.
For me, the biggest unknown and the thing I'm most interested by, Rocco Zikarsky. He kept his name in. We didn't know what would happen. We've seen him mocked pretty high as well. So I reckon someone's going to take a stab at him. One team must really like him.
I like it. That's going to be, the journey for Rocco to be right at the top and then maybe slide out of things, and then just his stock has risen in the last little while. To see how it all unfolds next week at the NBA draft is going to be fantastic. We will have a closer look at that as we get toward that next week on the show. Thank you, Mr. Hoops. Great to see you. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you very much.
Michael Houben with you. Great to have your company here on A Heat Check. We'll see you next week for another big show.